Hey everyone. How are we doing today? We're doing great.
Yeah, good mate.
Hey, hello friends. Thanks for coming through and supporting. My name's MaggZ. So before we start the presentation and performance, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owner, Wurundjeri people of Kulin Nation. And I pay my respect to past, present, and emerging, always have been, always will be, Indigenous land.开始的开始，我们都是孩子，最后的最后，渴望变成天使。歌谣的歌谣，藏着童话的影子。开始的开始，还要飞往哪去？开始的开始，我们都是孩子，最后的最后，渴望变成天使。歌谣的歌谣，藏着童话的影子。孩子的孩子，还要飞往哪去？当某天你若听见有人在说那些奇怪的语言，当某天你若看见满街的本子还是学了些，当某天在唱着这首歌会是在哪一个角落？当某天在踏进这校园会是那片流年，倒进回忆的流年。表示从1楼到4楼的距离原来只有3年，表示门卫叔叔是堂阿姨还有夫妻脸，各种疾风洋流都搞不懂，还有新誓言，各种曾经狂热的海报照片，买几块几毛钱。我们穿上西装，假装成长胶片，挥霍习惯的笑脸，背上一发寂寞唏嘘痛的初体验，毕业和成年的字眼格外动人心弦，各种莫名的感伤，只说句细细一些。开始的开始，我们都是孩子，最后的最后，渴望变成天使。歌谣的歌谣，藏着童话的影子。孩子和孩子，还要飞往哪去？Home. What do you think of home these days? 这些年，你对家的想法是怎样呢？ It's a sticky sentiment. 是一种很浓稠的感觉。Flashbacks that are almost mutually exclusive to reality. 基本上是和现实一点关系也没得。The feeling of home is quicksand. 这样的感觉是像流沙一样。Water immersed inwards. 水向里面回旋。Pulling towards, pulling apart. 向里面拉扯，向外面拉扯。I think about home and the way home has been spoken about and the discrepancy in between. 我会想家的时候，还有家被说的方法，以及所有之间的区别。I think about home, fully submerged amongst my poles. 我下降的时候，整个家完全的侵入我的毛孔里面。I think about the stickiness of details. 我会想农场的细节。Too many details sometimes. 有时候太多细节。Like the grey drives on Saturday mornings. 像星期天早上灰色的开车的路。Like the happiness from carefree to looking for something missing. 像从前无忧无虑到开始寻找有东西不在了。Extreme inhibitions are manifested through subtle yet penetrative obsessions of being loved. 极度的抑制感被陷入细节，但是有贯彻性的痴迷呢，想被爱的感觉。I miss you so deeply. Into another universe. 我很想你，想念得很深刻，想念到另外一个宇宙。Yet, I'm also glad you're no longer present. 但是我也很庆幸，因为你现在已经不在当时了。 actually a bit stuck with words when I come to race. Strongly feeling a full circle moment, it also feels like the circle has just started. Back home, all we have is people, homogeneous people. The notion of race is merely limited to what's not us. Nevertheless, it's more nuanced than that. It's always more nuanced than what appeared to be. Recalling the intrinsic association of light being pure and dark being evil and filth. Don't remember learning that from anywhere, but it didn't have to be learnt because it's everywhere. The glorification of the victory of white men is still prevalent, even under communist lens. The lens that aspired to be powerful, the power to be traced back to critical race theory and manifested through structural and epistemological racism. On a foreign land now on a foreign land. Feeling the nuances stronger than ever, the nuances might as well be self, from how you speak, what you speak, how you look, how you try again, how things you're used to are condescended, how you turn into condescending that old normality with confusion, yet strong conviction driven by fear. And finally, how easy to follow the flow, yet dreadful to flow away. Then the realization is made. You're not alone. There are many shadows amongst shines that echo your wandering and pain. You gather, lean amongst one another's shoulders, and encourage tears to be drank as water. You lick one another's wound. With too much empathy, you can't even tell which wounds are whose sometimes. You learn how to speak. You learn how to speak louder. You learn how to stand on your feet and armor yourself with more certainty. All of these are fine until it's not. Until you start using hatred as a painkiller and splashing blood into vicious cycle, leaving the brains and hearts behind. You could see the darkness in their eyes. You could see the darkness in your eyes. Until one day, you pulled the wrong strings. The realization then occurred that there was never a reliable alliance based on collective hatred, destructive outrage. You are amidst the flame with the oil you poured from the get-go. But you're here now. And where is here? After the tangling and untangling, seems to be back at where you started, except you're definitely not at where you started. You don't know, yet surrendering to the unknown isn't yielding. The unknown is here, and the unknown is now. The fundamental values of love, care, compassion, loyalty, and reliability, they don't require known. Just as your color doesn't require affirmation to be your color. The relevance lies within yourself, and may you gather that for what's to come. That was pretty intense. So now we're going to do a little mode shift, and I would like to tell a story about a girl. And her name is, how would we name her? I would call her Green. I think that sounds like a good name. Okay, so Green. Green was born in a country that being a girl isn't the best thing ever, but also I guess the society doesn't really allow Green to express that part of her disagreement and wants her to pretend that, yeah, actually, you know what, being a girl is pretty great. So, Green is very kind and a very, very shy girl, quite introverted, but also got a lot of energy. So yeah, her story begins. And looking at it now, it's a bit funny that the definition of womanhood is so closely entangled with a non-woman, or like a romantic relationship with a non-woman. So yeah, there it goes. Green was 15, and she's had her first, well, kind of first, proper boyfriend. You know, like, Green really wouldn't call that a relationship these days, because it's, yeah, at the time it was just love for the sake of loving, or it's just a sign of conformity because everyone around her age is doing. Anyways, Green had this boyfriend, and it was going fine. Well, lying, it was not fine. It was a toxic relationship. Well, it was barely a relationship to start with. But yeah, the boy was okay. Let's just leave it like that for now. The boy was okay. And yeah, they were going out for a while, and things were fine. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I think maybe the boy was getting more comfortable or something, he started saying things to Green like, hey, you know, your thighs are actually looking pretty big, and your hips as well, which, you know, I think these days that's a good thing in a Western society, but where Green comes from, that's not really a good thing. So that made Green really, really self-conscious of, oh, okay, well, is there anything wrong with me? I hope not. I mean, in Green's mind, she was like, well, I guess that's, you know, I guess I'm lucky. I'm going to consider myself as lucky that someone actually wants to go out with me with thick thigh and thick hips. But yeah, I guess the physical comment never really stopped, and Green felt really, really shitty about her body image for a very long time. And even many years later, she ended up going to the gym, and she felt great about her body and it looks good, but there was this mark in her mind that just never really left, that perhaps she will have to live with that the whole life. But I guess that's the first mark of Green's womanhood. Okay, now fast forward. We are moving on to 18. So, 18. Do we all remember what it feels like to be 18? Well, yeah, I'm shaking my head right now, but no, it was a great age. So, Green is now 18, and I would say 18, the early adulthood, is actually such a dangerous age where you were so eager to be an adult, yet you have no idea how to be an adult. And you want to prove yourself so strongly that you are somewhat starting to be independent, and you want to be considered as a whole human instead of just like, oh, hey, you know what, she's just a child. So that's where Green was at that stage in her life. And sadly, her womanhood around that time also resolved around a man. But this time, the story is a bit different. He was actually a man. He was actually a bit older, quite a bit older. Well, let's just leave it like that. And Green was 18. So that started really well. I guess the man was really respectful, and they were getting along well. But similar to previously, a few months down the track, I think they started to get more comfortable. And that's when this deep patriarchal sentiments started to emerge. Am I right, ladies? We all have that experience. Anyways, the deep patriarchal sentiments started to emerge. One day, Green was like, you know what? I'm really feeling this red swimsuit that I just got. And yeah, I'm just gonna send a pic to my boyfriend, because that's what you do when you're 18. And she did that. And the response was fucking horrendous. No one's underage, right? I can curse. Okay, cool. Good to know that. So the response was fucking horrendous. But Green felt really, really conflicted at the time because the response she got was, don't ever wear that swimsuit. Like, seriously, don't ever wear that swimsuit. It's backless. If you wear it, you look like a fucking slut. And other men in particular, would want to sexualize you and objectify you. And I would never allow that for my girlfriend. And Green felt so deeply conflicted because on one side, she was like, you know what? I think I should respect my partner's opinion in terms of what his likes and dislikes. But also, like, what the fuck? Like, at what point do you feel entitled to comment on my body? At what point do you feel entitled that my body is your possession for you to decide that it's for me to show or not? Anyways, that got really intense. That got intense to a point that Green had no idea how that got so intense, but there were endless nights of pointless arguments around pointless things where this deep patriarchal control where the men would make Green feels she's nothing, makes you feel she's worthless. There were endless nights where she actually had to shrink herself so much, both physically, emotionally, mentally, and all the aspects, in order to make the men feel like, you know what, I'm a man now, and I'm in control of my woman, and you feel small enough to fit right next to me. And that was deeply traumatic, but also that's Green's life. And now fast forward into who Green is. Well, we're not going to say how old she is now because age is just a number, right? What really matters is the experience that we all go through. So she is at where she is now. Numerous things had, I wouldn't say happened to her, but happened with her. And that has shaped into who she is now as a woman and a brand new understanding of what does womanhood means. And recently there was this very intimate event that had occurred with Green that made her really reflect on the significance of how do we surrender to our femininity and not let the intrinsic urge of thinking that's a weakness. The societal values control us make us think that femininity is a weakness. But Green is now wondering, what does it really mean to be a woman? What does it really mean to be biologically identified as women? And what does it mean when you're deeply connected to your body and your mind and all the hormones that you get before you have your period? And for the longest time, Green really extremely hated that the few days before her period because all the hormones are just fucking crazy. But what does that really mean? Like, when you connect with something happens within your body, it's like a spirit that actually lives and died inside your body. And how do you move forward with that? And I guess that green doesn't really have an answer to that. But the good thing to know is green's womanhood no longer requires, well, never should have required, a man's presence. And she is now embarking onto the next stage of her journey.
applause for MaggZ. My goodness. Hi, we're just going to grab one more chair. MaggZ, I've suddenly gone through. I'm just going to have a chair, is it? Oh, I can just grab the stool. There we go. I'll move that because it was me and then he'll kick it over and break it, so. Hello, everyone. You can see MaggZ, I'm pressing the button. Really pressing the button. Promise it worked before. Thank you. Amazing. Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, I have some introductory words, some kind of post-introductory words. Let's grab that one for a sec. So I've got like a few things to say, and hopefully maybe we can have another mic, or we can just kind of switch it between ourselves. So I'm still kind of processing that. That was really powerful. And I've got to say, just really, really generous as well, what you just performed and what you just shared. And I know that everyone is going to have a lot of questions, so please start thinking of them. As MaggZ said at the beginning, we are on the unceded lands of the Boonwurrung, the Bunurong and the Woiwurrung Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Sovereignty has never been ceded. We are here as guests, and that is a privilege we all need to think about in our own ways. And I want to honour elders past and present. My name is Esther Anatolitis. I am here standing in today for Jan van Skyke of the Writing and Concepts series. First of all, big thanks to Andy Turton and the rest of the team here at Signal for what is the 122nd event in the Writing and Concepts series. Today's performance, Chinese Womanhood as an Artist, situated in Kunming, China and Melbourne, Australia, was by MaggZ. Yes! MaggZ is a Naarm-based movement and multidisciplinary artist specialised in whacking, a freelance dance. That's good. A freestyle freelance dance originated in 1970s LA in the LGBTQIA+ community, traversing amongst battles, performances, creative directions, and more. MaggZ aspires to honour the unique being of self and others. Today's presentation explored the cross-cultural examination of being a Chinese woman, artist researcher on the subject racial alienation, honouring and learning from anxieties, which is pretty powerful itself, as a foreigner on a temporary visa, oh my God, and healing from internalised generational and personal trauma through arts and community. So it's a massive thank you again to MaggZ. She's given us all a lot to think about. And please, who has a question to ask MaggZ? Over here, thank you.
So the song that you were singing at the start, I thought it was really touching, very emotional and touching, although I didn't understand the word because I don't speak Mandarin. I would like to know what the song was about that you sang.
Yeah, for sure. I knew someone was going to ask that. Yeah, so that song, so basically I'm from southwest part of China, so like I actually speak, I wouldn't say 2 languages, but I speak Mandarin and I speak the dialect from my province, so that song is in Mandarin, but just a bit of context. So that was a song where, going back to like middle school that was really loud, at the end of year 9, like at the end of like year 9, where everyone was like, we've been together for like, because back in China, like it's not like the high school here. We actually all get to assign into a class, and when you get assigned into like there's like 60 people in the class, which is like huge, and you just get to spend time with them like every single day. So it's not like how it works here where like in high school you just get allocated a different class and you meet different people from your year level, whereas like in China you just get stuck with those 60 something people for like 3 years and you see them like Monday to Friday and like 9 to 5 kind of thing. It's like a full-time job. So yeah, that's a song where like towards the end of year 9 where we were about to graduate from our middle school and we're about to go into like high school at the time, and that was about the time that I've decided, well, my mom kind of decided and I was just like, alright, yeah, I will come to Australia. So that was about the time as well. And that was a song where we, like me and my friendship groups, we actually had a lot of memories to share with that song. Like we didn't write the song or anything, I think that was just a popular song around that time, I would say 2014, around that time where like in China where everyone around our age is like singing about it, about graduation, we all share like a similar sentiments of like the nostalgia and like the friendship that we've built over 3 years and like aspiring to go into high school or to your future or wherever you're going, but also simultaneously just extremely scared and like not too sure what's happening. So yeah, that was the context of the song where like me and my friends, we actually just sang it a lot. Like we pretty much sang it every day, sometimes just as a joke, but we did use the song, we made a birthday present for one of our friends. That's why I know the song really well, because we actually all like gathered after school and rehearsed and like, yeah, we're gonna sing it like this to my best friend, and as her birthday gift, we all just sang that song to her. So I guess for me, the reason why I chose that song is I feel like it was just such a symbol of like where obviously where I came from, there's a very like the culture there was very diverse, but for me the sentiment of like nostalgia and being back home is very much embodied in that song, and that's why I picked that song. And I haven't actually sang it like that for 8 years now, so it actually felt nice. It actually felt nice to like, alright, we're singing today a little something different. But yeah, that was the song.
Oh, that is great. Oh, you keep the mic.
Alright.
What is the
And a very
song,
good
like, what
question.
are the lyrics mean as well? Thanks.
Also a very good question.
So the lyrics, obviously not translated one by one,
Yeah.
but just I guess like, so like the phrase that I repeated a few times, like, 开始的开始, I repeated that 3 times. That was more like a metaphor or like spoken words of like, kind of like a story of at the beginning we all like gather and then towards the end we all turn into angels and having our own story stemming from that point. And in between the song there were just like all the details about this is what we do on a daily basis in like a Chinese middle school, you know, we get lunch together and we laugh about like this person in the canteen and that person like the door guard and they kind of look similar. It's like all these like little nuances in the song where like I guess no one else will really get it unless you're in that environment for such a long time, like Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And it's just something that you hear, you're like, oh my god, that speaks to my heart. So I think the whole song is just like that, all the lyrics, it's like all the little things that as a teenager that we cared about and we noticed about. Because we were all like, you know, puberty and we were bored. And like, and in China it's like stressful to study and like, because that's the only thing, like education is the only thing that defines what is it means to be successful, which obviously isn't that way, but like as a teenager that's all you know, and that's what, you know, the society, the political system and everything tells you this is what you need to do. You need to succeed in your academic career in order to be successful. And obviously we're just like, oh god, as a teenager that was just, that was hard. Like we all studied hard, but we just need these like small activities, like small things in our lives that we like look at it and be like, haha, that's kind of funny. Well, I guess we'll move on with our day now. So yeah, that's kind of like the song, what the song is about. Yeah.
Thank you both of you for those questions. Who's got another? Yeah.
Thank you for the performance and the song story. I can understand the lyrics, and I've been in Yunnan province, Kunming for a year while I worked there. So dialect is so familiar, but I couldn't understand anything. But I can guessing most of the time because I've been there for a year, like to work. Yeah, and I love the story as well, like the grain. And then I got the question from the grain's perspective: is today's man still dateable?
What, is men still dateable?
Yeah, it's like it's not a good experience.
We're giving dating advice now. Well, actually, Green thinks. Green thinks men are still dateable, but I think at the same time, I wouldn't say this as an advice, but from Green's perspectives, I guess it's more about the openness of your sexuality and understanding that, and realizing that what she is attracted to these days, not the gender or like, you know. I mean, yes, we like dicks, but like that's not the only thing, you know. Like we like that, we enjoy that, that's great, but that's not the only thing, and there's so much more to that. And being able to like, I guess, overcome the boundaries that we set for ourselves. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm attracted to this person, and this person isn't conventionally identified as a male or a female. What does that make me? And I think it's a matter about having that openness of like, having the openness to love and just like, yeah, you know what, we're all human, and that's just that. And no matter it's male, female, non-binary, or everything that's I haven't identified earlier. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I actually just, yeah.
I want to answer the question. Actually, I feel like men and women so confused these days. Everyone is confused. They don't know where they're going in their life. There's a lot of things they haven't figured out. Like what's happening in modern society about like a being. It's not like you gender, everything just confused. And sometimes I feel like we're going backward a little bit culturally. Like in general around the world, like it's gotta be messy. I don't know, like yeah. But thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a question, so it's hard to answer.
It is, and I think it's, yeah, I think like, obviously I have my priorities these days. Not all I think about is men. But yeah, I do agree. It's very complicated, and I feel like even, because I kind of see like people around me. Not that I categorize them, but like obviously I have different people around me, and I will have like my very close friends, and then I also am friends with like a lot of just queer, non-binary people, and I do also see and hear their struggles as well. So I would say either way, like, you know, not saying those are the two ways that we have. There's so many possibilities out there, but like no matter where we are, I feel like those are the difficulties that is going to be there, and but at the same time it is what makes being who you are and like choose how to love so special, because it's not easy.
And maybe it was actually we'll take life this one. Maybe it was always confusing, and maybe identity is imposed, maybe sexuality is something that's imposed externally and creates internal confusion. So maybe there's less confusion now because there's more opportunities to really kind of express, perform. When you asked the question about green, I was and when Max was telling the story, and then with the red as well, I'm like particularly tickled. I'm sure you can all see that her nails are green, and nails of course are a kind of like, you know, like it's power and it's flaunting, but it's also like talons and attacking, and you know, it's balance as well. I think that's super interesting. I'm sure you've got so many more questions. Who has got another one? Go.
Max, we spoke about, we presented a handful of reflections from young artists on their practice as part of writing and concepts. And when you were developing your concept for today, we kind of spoke about how a lot of the previous presentations had been in a more traditional lecture format, and you were keen to bring a lot of performance into your presentation, because you spoke about your like academic side as and your life as a researcher being quite separate to your life or your practice as an artist, a movement artist and a dancer, and you wanted to bring those together, which you've done really beautifully, and also really strongly used spoken word and personal experience and personal storytelling. So I guess I wanted to ask, how was that? Like, how was that experience of putting that together and then presenting it in this context, and where do you see that going in your practice as an artist and a researcher?
Very hard questions today. My brain's just like, oh. No, I love it. Thank you. Thanks for asking that. Well, I would say, firstly, I guess preparing it was challenging, but like in a very good way. Because, like you said, because I'm actually just graduated my master's degree. Like, people look at me and be like, oh, do you just dance like professionally? This is all you've been doing your whole life. I'm like, yes and no, but like, yes, I have been dancing my whole life, but I've never like taken dance into like an academic setting. So I don't see, like, I wouldn't classify myself as like an institutional dancer. Like, dance has always been a hobby, well, these days more of a passion, and like driving it into a career these days. But I am also heavily academically driven. Well, like what I was saying earlier, like back in China, that's like all people care about, and I think that was just deeply like embedded in me. And like, not to brag, but like I always studied really hard and like got good grades. I think that's just like a standard that was just kind of like in your DNA, like if you're born like Asian.
Yeah.
Like that's just yeah, I hear some agreement from back. I think that's just something that it's embedded in your DNA, and like, so I also have that side of me, but I feel like it's been interesting. I guess it's been interesting trying to incorporate these two together, like especially now living in an era where like, obviously we hang out in person, but like after COVID, or we're still in COVID, like we heavily rely on social media, and I almost feel like the academic side of me only get a chance to like express, because I actually write a lot, like all the writings through like that short caption of Instagram. So it was actually, it's really interesting and challenging to be able to like, I guess like really articulate and organize, because my creative process is quite different to like how I write, so it's quite interesting to like how to merge those two together and like kind of make this happen like today. And not gonna lie, it's been quite stressful. Like, my partner's here and he's been at home just like, ooh, I don't want to be around this energy right now. So it's been like that the past week. But yeah, I think coming in today, I actually, I had things prepared, but like I wasn't too sure how it's gonna go, because that was the first time I actually just did it from like beginning to end. So that was like the preparation process. But I guess how I feel now, I feel relieved. I feel good. It's been a long day and it's been a long week. But yeah, that's that. But I guess on a deeper level, I feel relieved, and I feel quite emotional as well, like in a good way. I think towards the very end of performance, I literally had tears about to come out. Like, it felt really nice to, I guess it feels really nice to be able to express yourself in that way, and you don't really have to, obviously I have my reasons behind it, and I hope that resonated with people, and people will have your reasons behind it, but how that resonated with you. But I guess that's the beauty of art. Like, I don't feel like I need to explain myself to anyone about that. But yeah, I feel good, emotional, relieved. And you had another question of like, how do I see this, like moving forward, how do I see this? I actually don't know. I think I'm at a point where I'm just like, all right, let's do it day by day. What are we doing on this hour? But I think I would definitely love to explore more of like the intersection of writing, literature, and performance, movement. Because it is very challenging. I feel like it's opened up another portal of like, I mean, surely people have done this before, but just speaking for myself, I feel like this is opening up another portal to like not too sure where it's going, but it's going somewhere.
Exciting.
And I think it will be, perhaps it will be nice to like be able to get into more like, yeah, like the research side of things, like research and literature, research and movement, and what is the intersection of that, and do we need to have an outcome? If there is an outcome, where could this outcome go? And what does it mean to have an outcome, and what does it mean not to have an outcome, just to have a development session? That was a lot. That was just me, spelling words, but that's that. Yeah.
There's so many artists I want to introduce you to. I have a question, if there isn't one next from someone. You do, you go, and then...
So I have two questions. The first question is, how much of your performance, like for example this one, is exactly how you planned it, and how much of it is kind of, like, I don't want to say improvisation, but kind of like that you maybe thought, okay, I'm just gonna see how this goes and how I feel. And was there, so question number two, was there a moment today that went totally different than what you thought it would be?
Very good questions. And big. Good.
Yeah, okay, so to answer the first part of the question, were you asking like, out of all my performances, how often?
Maybe in general.
In general, yeah. Well, I guess it really depends. I think it really depends on different contexts of the performance, of like, I guess like, what is the idea behind the performance, who is curating it, what is the creative direction like, and what kind of environment I'm going to be in, and if I have any time to like do a site check the lighting, just all the technical. I think that's what stresses me out the most, not the performance itself, it's like the technical setup. You can ask Amy, I came in today, I'm like, oh my god, because my laptop wouldn't work. So I think it depends on all that, but I would say, I don't really think that if anything, I have a structure, like a general structure of like how I want to approach each performance. It's bad.
Yeah, I just tried this one as well, and no, they just clearly were not recently charged. Doesn't matter, we can project.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yes,
Let's do that.
That's right.
Yeah, so I would say I have like a general structure of like how I would like to approach. In terms of structure, it could be like maybe like musically or maybe environmentally, but it really depends on different contexts. And so just following up on that, I think for the times that it actually just went out of my expectation are the times where like, not the actual performance, maybe sound fucked up, or like something didn't go right, or like the light didn't turn on, or things like that. I think it's the elements that are out of my control, out of my physical control. Things like that happen, and that for me is like, alright, that's out of my expectation, out of my control, and how do I be present with that, and how do I adapt into that situation when that happens? So I guess answer to that question is no. Like, they always go as planned. Well, I never really plan them anyways, so that's that. Just roll in and like, freestyle today. Thank you. Yeah, and for today, ooh, that was loud.
Extra charge.
I don't think. No, actually, I don't think there's anything that went extremely. I'm just like, oh, that went shit, But also, I haven't had time to reflect on it or like watch the footage. But I feel good. Like I feel like I really challenged myself to do like a lot of things differently. And I feel like for me, that's what matters, of like the reflection after the performance. Obviously, the performance itself matters, but it's what happens after and like how I grow from there and how I process from there. So I guess I can't fully answer your question because I haven't really had the time to like fully process yet. But short answer is no, I don't think anything went shit. Because there are times after performance I was like, oh my god, that was fucking horrendous. Get me out of here. But no, today was cute. Yeah.
Well, my question's a great segue from there. How cute was that? No, it's actually a serious question. So just bring Amy's and your question together. And from what Mags was saying about, there's an exploration, I guess, of practice, but also of identity, which is obviously so much of today. There's an exploration that happens through writing. We know this ourselves. When we write, we're kind of, you discover things, you access things while you're writing, it's a different kind of thinking. And similarly, drawing, performance, dancing, different kinds of embodiment. And as you say, you're kind of, you still kind of explore the spaces between those practices. So I wonder, what's interesting you most at the moment in terms of exploring writing and performance in order to access something and have that deeper understanding, or exploring writing and performance as kind of research around, your practice, your performance, that sort of thing?
It's kind of like inward or outward.
Yeah, my brain is trying to comprehend this. No, that was a really great question. Not too sure if I have an answer for that.
That's okay. It can be one on notice for future reflections.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to do at the moment is, I feel like I am someone who's very much drawn to like having an outcome for something, and like I place like a heavy emphasis on like having that completion of something. And I feel like right now perhaps what I'm trying to really break out of that, because it just feels very uncomfortable to me, like sometimes just not having an outcome, or like I don't know how to like word that exactly, but I guess the best answer will be I'm trying to break that cycle of mine of trying to always have an answer to something, and trying to just not be comfortable, but just sit in the discomfort of like, all right, I guess we're not getting any, there is no answer to this today, and going the journey and the process of going towards that, that's okay. And I guess just being able to like organize my energy and know my limit and know like, all right, this is where I'm at with my capacity today, because I do get like really hard on myself sometimes, so like that is something that I'm also trying to navigate within the process of like, all right, this is not going anywhere today, but not going anywhere itself is going somewhere, and I would like to do that within the capacity that I can still take care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best way I can answer that question.
Oh, that's a really good answer. Yeah, well, but what you said about sitting with discomfort, you can go through stages in your practice where it's, this is the work and it's going to have this kind of outcome, and I'll know that it's done because it'll have that kind of outcome, but then, kind of pushing in that sort of direction of, I'm going to have that discomfort, I'm going to go outside my comfort zone. Yeah, so exciting / terrifying, but a good place to be, I reckon.
A good place to be.
A good place
Moderately.
to be. That could potentially be a good place to end, unless people have more. Yeah, we've got to have one from you.
Yeah.
Of course.
Just to build on the thread that you raised, and also in consideration of the context in which you're going through this process, I wonder what the mixture of all these marks left upon you is when it comes to, I guess, trauma and also imposed identities that are conventional but don't really sit right with who you are, and the practice that you're using to step out of that is very uncomfortable. But I'm wondering, to what end do you seek empowerment in order to not only overcome those things, but like, what are you wanting to do with them?
While Mags is thinking about that, I think there'll be some thought that she puts to an answer for all of us, but I think we should also ask her that same question when it's just the two of you, because I think it's a big question for a lot of conversation. I'm not saying don't answer now, because there'll be some interesting answers for now, but I think you should keep having that conversation. No doubt you already are, because it's a really important one. Good question.
I guess for me, it's just, you know, all what I'm doing now, and like how hard I push myself. Like, I know that, you live with me, you know me so well. I guess it all comes down to a matter of just feeling alive. Like, that's the best way I can kind of summarize it, because we actually just live in such a chaotic world, and like, actually chaotic, like I don't really know what's gonna happen tomorrow. So yeah, I think for me, yes, there is all these pain, the struggles, the trauma, and everything that comes into a full package and it makes me who I am today. But I guess where I'm going with this is, at the end of the day, I just want to feel alive. I want to be someone who could say, if I die tomorrow, I will be like, you know what, like, I'm happy with this. Like, I want to be occupied with the things that make me feel alive, rather than just, I guess, there's this saying of like, you're either busy living or busy dying. So I guess I choose not that busy, but living. Yeah, that's the best way I can answer that question. Like, I don't think I have, obviously we can talk about like the goals and visions, and like my Virgo self like having a spreadsheet of like, this is how we're doing, but no, I think when it really comes down to it, like what speaks to my heart is, yeah, I just want to feel alive, and yeah.
Oh, that absolutely needs a round of applause.